They said he was just another number behind bars, a name buried under legal paperwork and courtroom lies. But what they didn't know was that the man they locked up didn't rot in that cell. He evolved. And when he walked out, he didn't just want freedom. He wanted justice. And he wasn't aiming low. He went after the very man who put him there. A judge. A corrupt, silver-tongued, Armani-suited devil in disguise. This is the story of how one inmate studied the law behind bars, turned the courtroom into his battlefield, and jailed the judge who once laughed as he slammed the gavel on his life. Oh yeah, and he did it without a law degree. Just a library card and a whole lot of revenge in his heart. Marcus Reed was 27 when it all started. A mechanic by day, hopeful musician by night. He lived in a one-bedroom apartment above a Jamaican restaurant on the south side of Chicago. The place always smelled like jerk chicken, and he wasn't complaining. He'd say, "Smells better than prison food," not knowing how true that would become. One night, Marcus was chilling with his best friend Tyrone, watching reruns of Law and Order while downing cheap beer. They were laughing at how dramatic the show was. Right then, his front door flew open. Not like a knock, more like a SWAT team kick kind of open. Flashlights. Guns. Cops shouting like they were in a war zone. Marcus froze, spilling his drink. "You got the wrong apartment, man. I only steal hearts and napkins from Chipotle," he shouted. But they weren't there by mistake. Well, they were, but it wasn't a funny kind of mistake. They arrested Marcus for armed robbery. Said he matched the description. Blackmail. Hoodie. Nearby at the wrong time. Classic. The trial was fast. Too fast. His public defender looked like he'd just woken up. The prosecutor acted like Marcus had robbed the Vatican. And the judge, Judge Hollister, sat on the bench like he was the king of the courtroom, uninterested in the defense, impatient with the facts. 12 years. That's what Marcus got. 12 long years for a robbery he didn't commit. Prison was another world. At first, Marcus was furious. He threw fists, punched walls, nearly got sent to solitary for turning a lunch tray into a frisbee. Anger was all he had. Until one day, in the prison library, while looking for something, anything, to pass the time, he picked up a book called Understanding Criminal Law. Not exactly light reading, but something about it pulled him in. He read one page, then two, then the whole thing. The next day he asked the librarian, Miss Jenkins, a silver-haired woman who smelled like lavender and wisdom, if she had anything about constitutional rights. She smiled. "Honey, I got a whole shelf that'll make your brain do backflips. You ready?" Marcus was ready. He devoured legal textbooks like they were meals. Every day, after his shift cleaning floors, he studied legal dictionaries, case law, habeas corpus, due process. He started quoting Latin terms like he was born in a courtroom. Other inmates began asking him for help, writing motions, appealing decisions. They started calling him Professor Reed. One inmate even gave him a tie made from a pillowcase. It was hideous, but it meant something. But it wasn't just knowledge he was building. He was starting to see patterns in his own case. Witnesses hadn't been questioned. Crucial evidence had been omitted. His public defender had filed the wrong forms twice. And most of all, Judge Hollister had rushed his case like it was a fast food order. Then Marcus found something. A small blog post buried deep in a legal journal. A rumor, an accusation that Judge Hollister had once been investigated for financial misconduct. It had quietly disappeared, swept under the rug. Marcus didn't forget. He filed appeals, wrote letters, researched precedents. Finally, in his 8th year behind bars, a federal judge reviewed his appeal. The original trial had suppressed evidence, and the actual robber had been linked to 2 more cases while Marcus was already in prison. And just like that, Marcus walked out. Not as a broken man, but as a man with a plan. He didn't want money. He didn't want apologies. He wanted Judge Hollister. He got a job at a nonprofit that helped wrongfully convicted people. Technically, he was a paralegal. Realistically, he was smarter than half the lawyers in the building. At night, he did his real work. He went after Hollister. He filed Freedom of Information requests. He dug through financial records. He reached out to ex-clerks, former assistants, even a bartender who once served Hollister 5 martinis and overheard a little too much about cleaning up the courtroom fast. He noticed a trend. Hollister sentenced low-income defendants, especially minorities, faster and harsher than any other judge in the district. Over a decade of unusually consistent rulings. Then came the smoking gun. Bank records tied Hollister to a private prison contractor. Every time Hollister sentenced someone, the prison got money. Every filled bed meant a check. Marcus had been one of those checks. "Oh, hell no," Marcus muttered. This dude turned people's lives into a business. He built a file thicker than a phone book. Audio recordings. Whistleblower testimony. Even one email where Hollister said, "Guilty pleas make for short days and long weekends." Marcus filed a formal complaint with the State Judicial Commission. The media got wind of it. Headlines exploded overnight. Wrongfully convicted man accuses judge of corruption. From inmate to investigator, Marcus reads mission for justice. The court suspended Hollister immediately. But Marcus didn't stop. He handed his file to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Within months, Hollister was indicted. Bribery. Fraud. Corruption. Marcus sat in the front row of the courtroom every day. He watched the judge who ruined his life squirm under questioning. He even brought popcorn once, just for the symbolism. It was stale, but worth it. The jury took 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Hollister was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. As they led him away, Marcus stood up, smiled, and said, "Don't forget to get yourself a library card." Reporters swarmed Marcus outside the courthouse. One asked if he felt like justice had been served. He paused, then said, "No. Justice isn't revenge. But this is a damn good start." Today, Marcus runs a nonprofit that helps inmates study the law and represent themselves. He speaks at universities, even law schools, despite never technically attending one. Harvard invited him to give a keynote. He wore the pillowcase tie. When asked what kept him going all those years, he said, "Prison can break you, or it can build you. I chose the second one." The first one's what they wanted. He's not just a man who beat the system. He's a man who exposed it, studied it, and took it down from the inside. Not with anger, not with guns, but with knowledge. And a little bit of popcorn.